I think she's getting some bad advice.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I think she just,
I think
she's an egotistical, the words fail me at the moment.
I think that, you know,
Well, it's a term that can be applied to a whole lot of other politicians.
Well, you gotta to run for office, you kind of gotta
Absolutely
be a little bit of.
There's no shortage of egos in political offices, right?
No. Hey, April, are we in overtime yet?
It seems to me like there's maybe a bit of panic happening in the county judge's office. You know, I see these press conferences every week. They try to stage them right before commissioner's court and announce, you know, whatever it is that they're going to do that day, and trying to play up these criminal justice initiatives and crime fighting initiatives that are non-traditional. And, you know, not to say they won't be efficacious in the long term, but I don't think they address the immediate issues that are on the table. And, you know, the political pressure is mounting. And so
I would agree with you, Holly. I do sense desperation. And again, that's unfortunate. You know, when you're reduced to doing things that are, you know, distasteful, it just, you know, to preserve power, to preserve position, preserve party, you know, that's the sad state. This is America.
Her policies have directly led to the massive increases in violent crime, to the deaths of police officers, to the, you know, and for the family to ask her not to do this, and you don't know who I am. I mean, don't care who you are. There's a section for elected officials to sit. You know, go sit there.
You know, I want to go back and are we okay to go ahead
tomorrow?
I want to on this subject right here.
Okay.
Okay, listen. First off, for you all who don't know, in the beginning of 2020, Commissioner's Court was trying to pass an order where no citizens could hire constables to patrol their community for extra security. Telling these people, your HOA dues, your civic club dues, the money you earn, you can't pay a constable to make you feel more comfortable. That was the first attack that Commissioner's Court made on the constables, telling private citizens you can't hire constables anymore to be patrol. And it was overflow packed where people from all walks of life, Shepherd Park Terrace to River Oaks, came and said, how the hell you gonna tell me where I can spend my money? That was the first attack. Then they took over 20 million, okay, in rollover money from the constables. They took that from them so that they couldn't hire additional as crime started to escalate. They took 20 million from them. Now, let me tell you all, most of you all on this panel are married or been married or whatever. And you talk about what you're dealing with your family at your job. So the attacks, they went down there to speak to her one day, and Greg knows this. She made them wait over 14 hours. They didn't speak till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
She went on TV and told everybody about this big crime initiative that she was doing in these high crime rated communities, and told them it was going to be the constables and the sheriff's office. She didn't even invite the constables and didn't give them a damn dime. Okay, She has consistently been attacking this organization. Now, as professional courtesy, they didn't say she couldn't come to the funeral. They said, yes, she can come and sit with the VIPs, sit with the mayor, sit with the Congress people, sit with the other commissioners, have a seat. But for you in front of the family, y'all, I don't mean in the back, right there next to his family. Because if you notice, when she squatted down to talk to that family member, the other family members on the other side turned their head. They turned their head. It's like, don't even come down here. That's rude. The county didn't pay for that funeral. His family paid for that. It was at Second Baptist. Ed Young is the pastor. I mean, his life insurance paid for it. This is not a county event. This is a very sacred event when you get to say bye to your relatives. No elected official, I don't give a damn who they are, should be able to tell you, and you got to include me. Nobody should be able to tell you that. If you grieve it and you feel sorry for my loss, you let me know that. Then you take your ass to your seat and sit your ass down. Cause see, he was way better than me. Cause I'm telling you, at funerals that I've attended, if she had attended, they would have whooped her ass. They would have.
If I could add one more thing on here, on the contract deputy program, these communities that are paying for contract deputies, they pay 100% of the cost of that deputy, but they only get 70% of the service of that deputy. That is, those communities are paying for protection, not just for their community, but for the surrounding communities. They provide backup officers for other constables or sheriff's deputies that might get in trouble or need backup. They're out there because these communities are paying for it. It's not just these communities that are benefiting.
Hold on, you guys. Hold on.
Wait, Greg, one more thing. I forgot to say that part, but Greg, Bob, thank you so much for putting there. But what I really wanted to say is they took the rollover from the constables, saying that they needed to conserve money, but not one, she nor any of the commissioners, they all got to keep their rollover. They all got to keep it.
All right, here, real quick. I found it interesting that former Houston Mayor Anise Parker came off the sidelines on Twitter to defend the county judge, which was pretty interesting. It's no secret that she has played something of a mentoring role, at least, I don't know how directly, but has been a supporter. What did you make of that?
I ain't surprised. You just said it. You didn't even give us a chance to answer it.
I think
that's a girl.
The public outcry about what happened and the allegations from the sergeant are, I mean, obviously there's an uproar about this. And so they're having to come up with some responses. There's a lot of pressure, but I'd really like to talk a little bit more about some of the things that are in the mayor's initiative. There was something that kind of stuck out to me. It was a little bit odd, is this provision in there. And I too also read the 17 pages of this initiative. There's something in there about how the Houston Police Department is supposed to work with the district attorney's office to find 200 cases to prioritize for prosecution and investigation. And we're talking about a district attorney's office that is understaffed. The assistant district attorneys that are there, I was told, have sometimes caseloads in the thousands, and they're trying to juggle all these cases. They keep asking for more resources from the county. And so, I found it a little bit special, if you will, that all of a sudden, Turner is suggesting that, somehow the city's going to step in and help the district attorney prioritize some cases, or maybe they think the district attorney is going to help the Houston Police Department prioritize cases. Both of these two entities understaffed and spread too thin to begin with. And so, I don't know if this is just, words to make us feel better, like something's being done, but we all know there is this additional problem in addition to, what's happening on the streets, with what's happening in the courthouse. Yep. We're not getting enough trials prosecuted. We don't have enough prosecutors. It's not moving quickly enough. So you've got the problem of these judges saying, well, these trials are taking too long, so we're going to start releasing people. And the decisions they're making about releasing some of these people are just atrocious. You've got, a murder suspect released on a $50,000 bond. Yes. That's just it's nuts, Yeah.
I think that has played as big a role in the crime that we're seeing than this idea of more police on the street. Absolutely. The idea that we are releasing folks from jail, the idea that we are giving bonds to people who obviously, they're on their second and third and fourth offense, that, I believe we could cure a lot of the ills by addressing.
Well, it is a complicated system. I think Constable Ted Heap mentioned the other day that, it's a 3-legged stool, and right now it's operating on 1.5 legs because you're not keeping all of the different parts of the system that have to work together in a complicated way. They're not all getting equal support. And, so when Tom Ramsey pointed out, was it last week or the week before, that they're doing these budget hearings, and the county administrator has come back and with a budget plan that only funds 18% of the requests that come from law enforcement, including the district attorney's office. They're not serious about funding the system and making sure that things are improved and happening. It's going to take some funding.
Let me ask you something. So then The plan's not perfect. Is it going to work? We'll see you in a year. We'll see in 2 years.
Sure.
But
I'm
but
not
as
saying
far
these
as
things are
as far as giving
bad,
something a
like,
shot, going through there, you mentioned that specific part. I was trying to wrap my head around prioritizing those 200 criminals. You've kind of helped me connect the dot in that one of the issues with the bail reform are that these terrible criminals have killed folks. I think it's about 150. It might be up to 200 now.
160.
160. What might be interesting is maybe it's HPD saying, well, we're going to go after those 250. In other words, maybe that could be a stopgap saying, if you're going to let those fools free, we're going to go after them. I mean, so maybe that's one thing.
That's great. Do they have the
seems to be
resources to pull
other
more
attempts in there.
staff?
But if they're not talking, it's not going to work.
They are talking. They're already
No.
talking as much as they possibly can.
Interestingly, and this may go to Marcus, we were doing
You
some
faded
man
out,
on the
Greg.
street interviews. And I talked to a guy who said, you know, I've got lots of cops who are friends of mine, and you know something, their time is not used in the most efficient manner. Some of them, you know, park, sit, eat, and you know, part of the reason, you know, that maybe they're not attacking or investigating or intervening with the enthusiasm they may have had in the past is the revolving door situation. I mean, if I catch them, they're going to be out in 48 hours. So I'm going to put my life on the line for a guy with 3 pending felonies who's immediately going to get back out. You know, you can see that kind of corrosive effect.
Yeah, it's this whole culture of lawlessness that's being spread around the country in major cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Detroit, Washington, D.C., you know, Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, where prosecutors just say, we're not going to prosecute cases. We're not going to, if you get arrested, you know, if you steal less than $1,000 from Macy's or from Nordstrom's or from CVS or anybody else, we're not going to prosecute you for that. If you try to burn down a school in Minneapolis during a riot, you know, we're going to give you probation on that. We're not going to put you in prison. It's just ridiculous. This whole sense of lawlessness, it starts at our borders and it extends all the way across the country, where we're not deporting convicted felons who have been ordered to be removed by a judge. We won't deport those people. We won't prosecute criminals. You know, it festers this whole disrespect for the rule of law.
I'm glad you brought up the border.
I agree with you
because
wholeheartedly. But there's a part that extends to that we're not talking about. It extends to these people that wear these blue suits and these badges. And there's a level of lawlessness and a level of disrespect for society at large that we don't discuss. And unfortunately, when it comes to these types of situations where we have police officers that are killed, it actually mutes the conversation of things like the no-knock warrant that killed a man in Minneapolis. We're not having a discussion about that because we're having a lot of discussions about the killing of police in the United States of America. What we're not talking about, though, is Mr. Jackson and his funeral. We made a lot of talk about the funeral of this constable, rest his soul, respect to his family, but I haven't heard us talk anything about Mr. Jackson's funeral. Who was Mr. Jackson? Mr. Jackson is the man that the HPD ran over while he was walking on the sidewalk. And we don't have helicopters flying over his funeral. We don't have televisions going to his funeral. We don't have public officials fighting to go and speak at the funeral if elected officials want to fight to go somewhere, there's a 3-year-old on a ventilator right now as we speak as a result of an officer trying to chase someone and doing bad business and killing a mother and putting a 3-year-old inside of a hospital. We have to have honest discussions about these things. And I gotta say this, right? With all respect to the officers that have lost their lives and their families, I am not a big fan of the pomp and circumstance that surrounds these incidents. I think that it is We can't say that these things are private, right? I don't agree with Hidalgo, but we can't say this was a private affair. This was on television. This was a helicopter covering this thing. This was all over the news. This wasn't a private affair. This was a very much a public affair. And when we say
it wasn't
that,
a county
that this,
event.
I understand that, but it was very public. When we say that these funerals are sacred and somber, every funeral is sacred and somber.
Amen.
Absolutely.
And I
Let's
think
go
you bring up-
Holly and then Tomorrow.
Okay.
Holly, you go first, then Tomorrow.
Okay, I think Marcus, you bring up a great point. And that is that police, I think the underlying point here is police, law enforcement, they're human beings. And some of them are going to be really good at what they do, and some of them are not. And let's not pretend that they're all good guys or all bad guys. So, we need to support our police, but we also need to hold them accountable when they mess up and when we uncover corruption. That's, you can't be extreme. You can't whitewash any group of people and implement this stereotype. And that's really important. And we do need to treat every death, with respect and honor, and, try to find out what happened there. I think that's very important. On the issue of no-knock warrants, I think that, again, blanket policies are a little bit problematic. One of the police killings last year was, they couldn't exercise the no-knock warrant when they knew there were very dangerous people that they were trying to serve this warrant to, and that led to an officer being killed. So again, it takes a little bit of nuance. It takes some, looking at each situation individually. And the same holds true with, these bail policies. Instead of having blanket policies either in one direction or the other, you need to have a more individualized process where a judge can look at the facts on the table there and make.
But Holly, that's what's happening now. It's an individualized process. They look at it and they still offer it. The idea that this officer was shot in where they couldn't serve the no-knock warrant, there was an alternative there. Don't go into the building. Wait until they come out.
Go ahead, Tomorrow.
Listen.
That puts the public more in danger if you wait for them to come out.
Hold on, let Tomorrow speak.
Holly, I agree with some of the things you said, and Marcus, I definitely agree with some of those you said. I've already told y'all multiple times. I was in a coma for almost a month because the police was chasing a bank robber who hit me at 90 miles an hour and damn near killed me. Okay. So I got a problem. I got a serious problem with those police chases because they already know this damn fool done committed a crime. He don't give a damn about killing nobody else. Okay. So I got a problem with that right there, but that's a personal thing. But let me rewind this all the way back. 160 people so far have been killed by people who have been out on bonds. If you look at the murder rate that we had and you subtract that from that, our murder rate would have went down. This felony bail bond reform, which was never supposed to be, it was all supposed to be about misdemeanor, because commonsensically, you shouldn't keep somebody in jail for a damn month, week, a day for having a busted tail light, okay? And let me tell you, there's a hell of a lot enough blame to go around. That's number one. And that started with Lena Hidalgo, Rodney Ellis, and Adrian. That's where this started. Then you back up the bail bondsman. 10% down or your house used to be the rule. It was a real estate bond or it's 10%. Now your ass can get out with a Metro bus pass and a couple Burger King coupons and you back out there on the street to kill somebody again. And of those 160, Tony, some of those people have been murdered by the same person who got out on the bond and came and killed somebody else. I mean, this is a problem. And we don't have no time for no more. I'm so damn sick of initiatives. I don't even like the damn word. I'm glad I got initiated as an AKA 30-something years ago, else I probably would have declined. I'm so sick of initiatives. I mean it. We need to do action. We need to do action. This is a major problem. I don't go to the Galleria anymore, period. Not night, day, whatever. I don't go there anymore because I'm concerned. They have a beautiful, I mean it, a really nice HEB at the corner of McGregor and 288. Baby, if the sun set, my ass ain't going in. I ain't going out there. But that's not how you should live. I love walking around Rice and around Hermit Park. But like Bob said, if it ain't a big enough deal, they not going to get convicted. I don't want us to be California. Did you all see the train path with debris, where they driving on, they coming on the train, opening up the boxes, taking what they want and leaving it out there because they got a law. No prosecution under $1,000. Let me tell you something. A catalytic converter, it may be less than $1,000. That may be true. But what it's going to cost your ass to get your car fixed once they take that? Hell, that's way more than $1,000. And it's the way they classifying crimes. You've got to do something and do something better. I'm sorry, y'all can say what y'all want to. I'm not law enforcement material. And for people to decide to do that, to risk their lives, to take on a job as a firefighter, as a policeman, as a constable, a sheriff, that I applaud them. I do, because that's not a job. Hell, that's a calling. If your ass looking for a job, that ain't the one to take, because that takes a calling, because it takes a certain person. And I do believe we should appreciate that service. I do. I really do. But I'm in no way minimizing the victims. I'm not in any way minimizing the victims who are killed by them. Do y'all realize, unless I'd have missed it, we ain't had the damn trial for Goins and them for killing the people 2 years ago.
Okay, but hold on.
I got a
long time to pull together all the evidence, and you don't want to rush a trial. You want to give the prosecutor a chance to build the case. Its trial is set for next fall. I don't have the exact date, but it is set. It is happening.
I can go in Sunnyside, Texas, and find you 3 people that know this man did it. Period. Point blank. Batman has been on the streets in Houston doing dirt forever, and half of the hood knows.
And it is on the docket.
They know what he did. So if they're taking that long to find out what this man been doing, then that's a shame. But I gotta say this, right? Because Greg, you always ask my perspective as a businessman, right? The highest public servant for me as a businessman does not wear a uniform that has a badge. It is public works. It is the guy that risked his life to come and dig out the shit that keeps my business rolling. It is the guy that's willing to get in the middle of E. coli, salmonella. I'm talking about the guy who works in waste, in plumbing. That is a very dangerous job. And if someone were to get sick and die from that, we wouldn't have a ceremony with flags and all this kind of good stuff. Filling potholes on the street is a very dangerous job. You are more likely to get hit out in that street as you are. Do the numbers. You are very likely to get hit by a car on that street. And if that guy filling those potholes gets hit, we don't have the whole city turn on the lights and the cameras and the action. Service is service. Public servants are public servants. I'm going to go, it's Sunday, I'm going to go to the Bible on you. There's no servant that is greater than another. And we cannot continue this whole idolatry of this guy is more than this guy. That's just not reality. That's not humanity. That is, and it's actually festering the challenge that we're having in this nation with regard to lawlessness and respect for the law, so on and so forth.
Well, I'd suggest too, though, I mean, Corporal Galloway's murder was something that was just shocking, the heinousness of it, and also the different issues that were exposed when we figured out who this person is, who's been charged, obviously not convicted. But Oscar Rosales had many aliases. He's been a fugitive from the law from the 90s. And it's becoming more apparent that he has been moving pretty freely across the border over the past 2.5 decades, and possibly is affiliated with cartel activity. So then, you're wondering, is he the only one in the city operating along those lines? Absolutely not. This is the tip of the iceberg from what I'm hearing. And I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. That's not some secret journalistic insight, right? It's, we all know that these cartels are operating. They're bringing drugs into the city, just rampant crime, and no one is stopping them at the border. Why?
And that goes back to my, right now, Hollywood, and I mentioned it 2 weeks ago on this program. We're more interested in solving the issues of Crimea or Ukraine and Russia than we are right here on our board. We think we can fly halfway around the world and settle those issues when we can't solve these issues right here in the United States of America.
Sending troops there. Why aren't we sending troops to the southern border, where we've got cartels?
I voted yes. Bob said no.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, speaking of public servants and people on the border, I spent 3 days this week down in the Del Rio sector of the border talking to some of the 10,000 men and women of the Texas National Guard who are stationed down there. These people are making tremendous personal sacrifices for being down there, and the overwhelming majority of them are proud of the work that they're doing. The officers I talk to, the enlisted men that I talk to, they're happy to be down there defending Texas from this massive invasion that was caused by President Joe Biden's pen stroke that eliminated all of the successful border security and immigration policies of President Donald Trump. These men and women are doing the job that the federal government is refusing to do. The President of the United States will not even visit the border. He won't return the phone calls of Mayor Lozano from Del Rio, who's been pleading for it. He ignores the mayors and county commissioners in the Rio Grande Valley. He won't listen to anybody on this because he's having to pay back his campaign promises and take this issue forward. Two National Guardsmen, just real quick, two National Guardsmen saw a group of 9 migrants and a family crossing the Rio Grande in Eagle Pass Monday morning, excuse me. And all of a sudden this family got in trouble in the water and they were drowning. And these two guardsmen and another law enforcement partner jumped in the water, put their own lives at risk in this freezing cold water, and rescued these 9 people and got them back on the shore. This is the kind of people that are taking up for our state, taking up for our nation. And they are allowing the few Border Patrol agents who are left out in the field, because 50 to 60% of our Border Patrol agents are now locked in buildings, processing, transporting, caring for these migrants that Biden is illegally detaining in the United States and not returning under Title 42 as required by law. 60% of these people are tied up. So these National Guardsmen that are out there are detaining people, holding them, letting Border Patrol know where they are, so that the few Border Patrol agents who are out in the field can actually get to these migrants and get them into custody. Only to be,
Everything that Bob said,
that's a great point.
Hold on. Everything that Bob said underscores a massive failure for a quarter century by both political parties in Congress to come up with common sense immigration reform that provides a more efficient opportunity for worthy folks to come here and fill the many jobs we have and live the American dream. But there has been absolute stalemate on that issue.
Because both parties want to keep the issue alive. The Democrats think that it's a winner for them as a whipping post against Republicans. Republican business people and other business people are wanting the cheap labor or being able to abuse workers as contract workers when they should really be employees. It's a problem that the corrupt system of government refuses to address, but it's a very personal issue to the people that live in these border communities. I've talked to ranchers who wake up in the morning and there's somebody staring in their window because they're walking across their property. Ranchers whose fences are destroyed and their cattle get out on the highway, causing life-endangering circumstances for people driving down the road, and liability for these ranchers who are held responsible if their cattle get out, no matter that it was a police chase, illegal aliens that drove through their fence to get that done.
Think of the insanity. Think of the insanity. You've got immigrants who feel like, if I don't get to the United States, I'm going to die where I was living. And then you've got people who've been on ranches and homes for generations, look up and see people in their house, uninvited or on their property, and having to make the decision of, well, do I shoot them before they take advantage of me and my family? That's insanity. Why do we have that?
Well, Greg, one thing,
because we don't treat it like Iraq, right? We don't find it as significant, right? We don't send thousands of troops over there to deal with it, because we don't treat it like Russia and Ukraine. We don't send,
like I said,
millions.
If it didn't have Trump's name on it, they would have kept the damn border policy in effect. But the fact that it had Trump's name on it,
Right.
they removed it, just like the Trump administration did for anything that said Obama, instead of thinking about what the hell is best for the for the country. But this is the problem with America, period. Even with the elected officials, they so worried about keeping their seat, they don't even give a damn about what's good for their district. Because Bob brought up a point that is rarely brought up. The companies that benefit from this illegal hiring, they have no punishment. You're going to deport the person, then they're going to just do it again. This
Right.
needs an entire systematic overhaul. I did labor for 8 years. I had contractors with TxDOT during the I-45 redo who told me I don't hire anybody who don't speak Spanish. And I'm like, what? No, they must speak Spanish. And then when I saw the people, I brought one of my workers who did speak Spanish. He quit within the first hour. I was like, why you quit? Oh, they only getting like $3 an hour when the government rate was like $8. But if they knew that they could do that to them, this needs a complete overhaul because it is beyond, this is not about a race or anything. This is about what the hell are we doing?
And if it's going to be complete, then it's going to have to be totally complete. And when I say totally complete, that we don't reject sales tax dollars from those who are quote unquote here illegally. We don't reject property tax dollars from those who are here quote unquote illegally. The federal government does not reject income tax from those who are here quote unquote illegally. So let's not talk about businesses, because the number one business that's benefiting from this is the United States of America, Texas, Harris County, and Houston. Let's be honest about where the money is going that we're not discussing.
We haven't heard from Tony. Hold on. We haven't heard from Tony, and Bob, we'll get back to you. You deserve a rebuttal there. Tony, we haven't heard from Tony all throughout overtime. All of these have been washing over you. What's your take?
He's been sitting there with that glamour shot.
I got my list. I got my
list.
Hold on, let me check some off here. How about
the
this?
author has written the book.
I mean, we're basically tapping into the complicated mess that is the issue. If politicians want to, and both parties, like we've all been saying, it's easy to sensationalize. It's easy to get your base fired up about one part of it. But when you look at all the nuances, I agree with all the points that are being brought up. And some are ugly, some are in our face. We haven't even talked about the drug issue. The cartels are powerful because there's a demand for their product.
Right.
And when the demand changes, they raise the price. And there's a lot of people making a lot of money off of that all over the spot. The other thing I'm going to add too is that, we're mentioning the Border Patrol. It's fascinating too to see how there appears to be a fight inside the Republican Party itself, especially when you look at the commercials for the Attorney General's office and also the governor's office. So I see Abbott's commercials saying that the Border Patrol is supporting him. And I see Bush's commercials say the Border Patrol is supporting him. Like every AG too is bringing up the Border Patrol issues, which is, again, it plays a role in security. But then in my head, I'm like, well, an attorney general does a lot of other things besides what they do on the border. Here's the point. At the end of the day, then it becomes easier to make a commercial in 30 seconds where you sensationalize the issue versus all these different nuances. And, it's great to be theoretical, but when someone's family member is hurt by someone that, is involved in this, it's hard to make a case against it. And by the same token, if you're a business and you're barely making it, you're gonna turn your face when there's all these middlemen. Let's not even talk about the businessmen. I talk to people in the immigration field. There's so many layers of middlemen where even if you're a business that complies with the rules, there's all these middlemen that can still take advantage of it. So I like the deep discussion.
Yeah, and let me put this out there, right? Because I know, and I'm Tomorrow. I'm not denying your experience and the reality of it is that it happened in 2022. In 2022, there's no $3 an hour jobs. It's just not happening, right? When you look at when you pass by a construction site and you see a multitude of Latinos working on that site, please dismiss this idea that they're working for a lower rate, that they're working for $4 an hour, working for $5 an hour. That used to be a thing 20 years
Let me
ago.
tell you what they are doing, Marcus. They're being abused in the process. They're working 60 hours a week and being paid for 40. They're being employed at $10 an hour instead of $15 an hour. It is impacting the labor market. But to Greg's point a minute ago about the people that are coming across, there's been a major shift in the demographics in the last couple of months of the people that are crossing the border. The 15,000 Haitian migrants that came into the Del Rio sector in just a matter of a couple of weeks in September, the overwhelming majority, 90% or so of those people didn't come here from Haiti. They came here from living in Peru and in Ecuador and in Brazil, where they were living for 10 or 15 years and had very successful lives. They left their houses, they left their cars. They weren't fleeing persecution. They saw an opportunity because of the weakness of the Biden administration. Now's my chance. I'm coming now. And we have people from Venezuela now, very wealthy people that are telling Border Patrol agents that they're abandoning their Mercedes-Benz, they're abandoning their houses, they're abandoning all of this. They're coming up here, flying first class into Mexico City, being bussed up to the country, brought across the border with luggage, with their luggage crossing the border, and they take them to these NGOs that are down there in the valley. They don't hold them there. They get the first taxi cab out of there and take a first class flight to the rest of the place where they're going here in the United States. There's people from 52 different countries around the world. For the first time, the percentage of migrants that come from other than Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras is exceeded by the people that are coming from other countries around the world. Uzbekistan, Syria, Pakistan, all these nations that are a threat to the United States, Russians, Chinese, thousands and thousands of Chinese, and most of these are men between the ages of 25 and 35. So the demographics have changed in a huge way along the border, and it's not asylum, it's economic migration. It's people seeing an opportunity to come in here and get into the United States. And we should welcome people to migrate legally to the United States. We need to fix the legal immigration program, but this has got to stop at the border.
All right, guys. It's 8:40. Y'all been awesome. Y'all want to do Burning Desire real quick? Go ahead, Tomaro.
Yeah.
You're muted. You're muted.
Okay. All right. First off, I want to thank.
Tony muted her.
First off, I want to give condolences to the mother of that 11-year-old young man who just wanted to get his coat to get warm, and her baby ended up dead. My deepest sympathies to you. I want to thank Constable Mark Herman and Ted Heap, who have volunteered to pay for his services for that mother, because she is at a loss as to how she sent her baby to go get his coat, and the baby ended up dead. I'm telling y'all, we've got to do something about this. In addition to that, for all of us who went to college that's on this panel, who know about student debt, Texas declined the student loan forgiveness program. If y'all don't know, you need to know. Your ass want to win an election, you tell them y'all gonna put that back in there, because people are buried under insurmountable debt. And Texas
the loans that they
declined
voluntarily
that program.
took out.
I mean it. So that's something we need to look at, especially for teachers.
Go ahead, Holly. Anything on your mind?
First of all, I just want to say there's, a bunch of programs for teacher student loan forgiveness. My own sister, taught at a a lower, socially economic status school and got all of hers forgiven. I took out student loans. I paid my own way through college and I paid them off. I think, rather than doing this mass forgiveness that we're all going to pay for, even people who didn't go to college will have to pay for it. If, we're going to do some kind of, wiping the slate clean, we got to look at some of these entities that are pushing these loans. I was paying my taxes in a school district office a couple of years ago and picked up this beautiful, 20-page color booklet telling people how they could, go to college and it would be financed and all this. And it was published by the Student Loan Corporation. I mean, they're really pushing these things and pushing people to take out loans that they really can't afford for degrees that aren't going to have the kind of return on investment that you're supposed to have. You shouldn't go $100,000 into debt for an art degree. I'm sorry, that's just reality.
If you go out,
It's actually 100. It's actually 110,000. You got the 100,000 in the student loan and the 10,000 in credit card fees. Because those are predators on college campuses as well.
Oh,
I want to
absolutely.
congratulate Marcus for the reward for all his hard work and the national accolade his restaurant has received. We're proud of you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
well
That applause goes to the people.
To the
Yelp is the
people of
voice of the
Breakfast
people.
Club.
And they've spoken. It also goes to my team who over the last 20 years have been here trying to be a beacon of light, trying to rep, as the song says, trying to rep for my city, put on for my city. Listen, I want to piggyback on what I mentioned earlier. There's no discussion about the number of doctors who willingly went into hospitals during COVID and who lost their lives. Nurses who willingly went into hospitals and lost their lives. Those are servants as well. Yes, they have a job. It's a job they selected. They're public, yada, yada, yada. We don't do the pomp and circumstance for them. We need to start valuing humanity for humanity's sake and not delegating who's more important than the other. Brian Flores, shout out to Brian Flores for bringing forward the lawsuit against the NFL for their discriminatory practices in hiring coaches and being able to identify, thanks to Bill Belichick's either very strategic or bumbling text message, this idea of having this man entertain an interview with no real intent on hiring him. Now, why is that important? Because it's important to the league that we're 70% African American, but this disproportionality in ownership, disproportionality in coaching needs to be addressed. Now, just like negligence was revealed in the state of Texas, we solved the grid issue. Negligence was revealed when the commissioner wrote a memo on yesterday, or day before yesterday, saying we've got to fix this discriminatory practice that we have in the NFL. On one side, they're saying Flores's argument is hogwash. On the other side, they sent out memos that say, hey, y'all, we have a problem and we need to fix it.
The Texans interviewed him.
The Texans will interview a tennis shoe. And
Hey, Bob, go ahead. Do you have anything?
And they'll give the job to a shoelace.
Bob,
terrible organization.
You want to tie it off here, and we'll
Well,
go to Tony.
I'll just give a preview of a story I'm going to be writing a little bit later today. The Border Patrol is now, Department of Homeland Security are testing robotic dogs to work along the border. So it's an interesting concept. The president of the Border Patrol Union told me that it's a gimmick, that it's not really something that's going to be a useful tool. They like the drones that they use to get an aerial observation, but they don't see the value in having a little robot running around beside them on the ground.
Must have been a relative's contract.
I want to read that. Tony, anything to say before we close out?
It looks like the robots are stealing American jobs, man. What's up with that? Hey, so 10 years ago, Arizona officials banned Mexican-American studies, and me and my crew became book smugglers, los librotraficantes, and we smuggled back into Arizona all those books that were banned. We're coming up on the 10th anniversary. I finished my book, so I got time to burn. I can, so we're about to get back on the road and get people excited about literature and go back to our underground libraries and restock them. So we'll keep people posted. It's gonna be fun.
You may have to smuggle a few more of those books into Texas public schools. I think some have been
Got that
banned.
right.
That's
Oh,
what
I
it
need to
appears
say
like.
You
I
got
need
street
to say
cred. Yes,
bye.
tomorrow.
I need to say bye. I will be off for 3 weeks. I am going to be doing what I generally do at election season, and that's out there volunteering and supporting my candidates of choice. For y'all who don't know, I do a slate. I make a slate of who I recommend you should vote for. Now, if you're looking for an all-partisan slate, hell, don't read mine, because I damn sure don't believe everybody with a halo is a D and everybody with wings is a R. My slate is Democrats and Republicans. I always look at who is the best to do what we need in the city. I don't give a damn what your party affiliation is. You could be with the Sam party. I don't care if you're the best one for the job. Okay, so
We need a
look,
Sam candidate for governor. That's what we need. Where's Bill King?
we need
We
some.
need a Sam. We need a Sam candidate for governor.
We sure do, because we in trouble.
All right, everybody. Thank you
Thanks,
for
guys.
your thoughts and your participation. You're awesome. I think chalk one up for the public square today.
Yes.
Good conversation. I'll see you
Yes.
later.
All right.
Very good.
Y'all take
Great to
care.
see
Have
ya.
fun, guys.